minutes of August 7th.
I've heard them and found them substantially okay. We'll move their approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, he moved their approval. Did you get that? You got the
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Tommy.
Thank you, Tom.
I was chatting.
And you were chatting? What kind of example is that for the people in the audience?
She knows better.
There's a motion and a second on the table to approve the minutes of August 7th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. August 21st.
I've read them and moved their approval.
Second. Discussion? There seems to be something missing on page 4 on who provided comments. I'll just pass it over
Where?
to on Walk White Bay, Seven Childs, One River. And neither Tommy nor I nor Michelle seemed to comment, and I know we did. Doesn't change anything, but there seems to be.
Oh, you didn't say anything that,
Right.
but
So
you
I mean,
commented and
for-
added to it?
No, for the record, the three of us had no comments, and it's just not reflected.
Oh, okay. Got it. You got that? Yeah.
There you go, okay.
Oh, what, the comment is no comment?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Tommy
Yeah.
or Mr.
No.
Yeah, Mr. Bose. You want to just pass that down?
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Tom.
Amend my
Mike?
motion to include the note written.
Mike just wants it reflected that everybody gets an opportunity to comment,
That's correct.
and they could choose not to comment, but they get the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's a motion and a second on the table to accept the minutes of August 21st with reflecting that every time there was a hearing, everybody got an opportunity to comment, and if they didn't comment, they said no comment.
I usually do say that.
You do? Well, that's...
Normally you do, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Request for determination...
We gotta take the vote.
Oh, didn't I take it? Okay. All in favor of approval of the minutes of August 21st, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for determination of applicability. Dick K.P. and Eva W.U., 47 Nemasket Road, West Falmouth, for permission to demolish and remove the existing house and cottage and to construct a single-family house with an attached garage, decks, ramps, porches, in-ground swimming pool, spa, reconfigure the driveway, install dry wells, a new Title V sewage disposal system, retaining wall, maintaining the existing subsurface irrigation system, and the associating clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project, and we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, for those of you who are here for RDAs, a negative determination means you can go ahead with the project as proposed. Okay, any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, we have a motion on the table to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Okay, the next isn't under, the next section should say continued request for a determination of applicability. Green Pond Marina Associates, 74 Green Pond Road, East Falmouth, for permission to install a pressure wash water recycling system that includes installation of a new vessel wash water recycling tank with filtration pump, an additional trench drain to capture stormwater, regrading the existing pad to direct water to recycling tank, and to deposit new crushed shells in a parking area depression. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, this was continued so the staff could meet with the engineering group, which we did, and we thank them for allowing us to meet with them. I know it was short notice at the last hearing. We have much greater comfort level on the project now. We think it's going to be a great project for that area, and we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions? Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination, which means the project can go go forth as described. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are heard simultaneously under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First up, Peter and Laura Annicelli, 471 Central Avenue, East Falmouth, for permission to construct a two-story open porch that includes adding a side doorway stoop, modification of the front entry, relocation of a pine tree, planting a native tree and shrubs, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll hold any of my comments until after Jeff's presentation.
Good evening, Jeff.
Well, good evening, folks. I'm Jeff Ryther, representing the Annicellis. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there you go.
Go around it again, Jeff.
Laura and her daughter here in the second row.
Over there? Okay.
This is 471 Central Avenue in the area of summer community of Minot, East Falmouth. The Annicellis purchased this property a couple years ago, renovated the front cottage. There's actually two dwellings on this lot. That was done under, I think, even an administrative review for a door stoop. Very minor project. Now they're looking to update the back house, which is the main house. A minor little project, looking at it from the site plan. Front entry, we're going to be modifying that with some new steps and trim and so forth, very minor. It's already on that same footprint, but just work to the ground here. Out the back, opposite that doorway, is a new back doorway with stoop. So that's shown, but this is out of the buffer area. And speaking of the buffer, I'm going to go over the resource areas. Here at Bourne's Pond, we have land under salt pond, and we have a strip of salt marsh, and just adjacent to that edge of upper marsh is the coastal bank. Sort of one and the same. Where the marsh elder ends, the bank sort of just diminishes. There's a little bit of buffer in here, sort of spotty little access to the water as well. We show 50 foot from the top of coastal bank, and then 100 feet from coastal bank and salt marsh. The whole lot is in land subject to coastal storm flowage. So going back to the additions, we talked about the front doorway, back stoop, and then where there is this current gravel that wraps around the back end of the house, they propose to build a two-story porch, basically a porch over a porch, not glassed in, perhaps screened, but open areas. There will be a foundation excavated there and poured, and then 2 stories of construction over. You'll see a stairway goes up to the second story out the back. So work that's within the 100-foot buffer to the salt marsh is this little corner, little triangle of work, and it adds up to, it's in the calculation, 17, I think it is, 17 square feet. And then area of the impervious current driveway back here is 88 feet, which we're going to remove around that new part of the structure. So when you do the calculations for mitigation, there's no mitigation required because we're taking away more driveway than we are building back this little bit of porch. But we still provided 4 beach plum shrubs and 1 cedar tree. Now, in order to do this excavation back here, it's required to take out this pine tree, but they didn't want to just cut it down. They kind of like the look of the tree. It's sort of stunted, wind-blown, it's a little bit swept. And they want to keep that and relocate it here. So you'll see a note for that. So that's basically it. A couple of small additions, the back addition, but no coming closer with impervious surfaces, and relocate the pine tree. A little bit of mitigation. And then this area in the back here that's going to get a new roof, of course, over that porch, we'll put into dry wells for runoff. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Jen?
Jeff, the only question I have is like the removal of the gravel, how far, or are you going all the way around to like where the new pine tree is being relocated?
Right.
Okay.
That area around with new construction.
Okay, it's just not very clear on the plan. I just want to be able to make a finding on it and the,
Well, there is this little note here.
yeah, that you're removing the edging.
So I take out that edging, so that's sort of the limits of the removal of the gravel as well.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll be putting back turf.
Okay, that's fine.
Just some grass.
Okay, great, thank you.
Court?
No questions.
Tom?
Very lovely spot. One of the things that impressed me is that you've had the home for a couple of years now. Very light usage of the waterfront, typically when someone gets in something like that. It was really nice to see a healthy, living, moving buffer. It was really a nice place to look at.
Moving?
Yeah, there was all kinds of fish just on the other side. I kind of stuck my head down there.
I've been crabbing in that pond for a long time.
But probably seen a little bit of a decrease through the years.
A crab, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, no questions.
Mike?
I like it.
Tommy?
No question, it's just, I also like that pine tree, it's really nice and wind blown, it's a cool tree, yeah. It looks very straightforward, well marked out on the site, well planned, thank you.
All right, great.
It's my turn.
Don't let it go to your head.
Well, it was a joint effort, survey crew did the staking, so glad they made it nice and clear.
I have no questions tonight.
I'll move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close this hearing and take it under advisement. Are there any other questions on the board? Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, we'll take the vote. All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstention? Anybody opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, great, thank you very
Nice
much.
job, Jeff.
Oh, my goodness,
Yeah, no, don't go there.
it must be August.
What?
You're so effusive with your compliments this month.
No, it's very nice to see presentations that are complete. All the information is there, nothing is omitted, and the proposal meets the regulations. It makes our life easy and everybody's life easy.
It does. It's a nice project, good luck.
Thank you.
Mike, what are you there? You must be the next person. Raymond and Ann Carlin, 374 Mill Road, Falmouth, for permission to construct and maintain a one-car garage, relocate the existing gravel driveway and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Thanks, Mike. Jen?
I'll save any of my comments until after Mr. McGrath's presentation.
Good evening, Mike.
There we go, Mike.
My name is Michael McGrath. I am a registered engineer and a registered professional land surveyor. This notice of intent was prepared by my firm. The site is located at Mill Road and Seagull Lane, and we previously received an order of conditions that we had applied for a garage and then a 200-square-foot addition to the existing structure. You had me take the garage off, and you approved the 200-square-foot addition. However, the building code has changed, and it doesn't matter that the zoning bylaw and your regulations allow 200 square foot. There's no more lateral additions unless the addition is raised to be so that that it conforms to the building code. So we can't build the addition because the finished floor would be up, it'd be unusable, let's put it that way. So when you directed us to remove the garage, we did so. But when we look at the regulation, I believe that the proposed garage meets the requirements of your regulation. And what I've done is I took the regulation, I quoted it in the top of the page, and then I highlighted it. My fingers are thick. Under FWI 10.38 this is a performance standard from your regulations for land for a project in a velocity zone. And when you read the regulation, it appears that it bans new structures, including buildings, sheds, and garages, and additions to existing structures. But when you read the regulation in the entirety, in other words, the first paragraph, you cannot have an adverse effect on adjacent wetland resources and activities and their ancillary uses in velocity zones, which result in three things: alterations to vegetative cover, interruptions in the supply of sediment to other wetland resources, and/or changes to the form or volume of a dune or beach. This project is to build a garage on top of a lawn. So that's not vegetative cover that you normally focused on. We're also not going to interrupt the supply of sediment to other wetland resources. And we're not going to change the form or volume of a dune or beach. So we think that the only time that you can say that you can ban a new structure, including building sheds or garages, is if we meet or we are causing one of the three things I've highlighted. So I believe that, in fact, that this can be approved. I further point out that what exists on the ground is a small shed, and we're going to take the small shed, and while the garage is bigger, the garage will be built in accordance with the building code. The building code says that the lowest horizontal member has to be 2 foot above the elevation of that's described in the designation of the velocity zone. And so this proposed garage will conform to the requirements of the building code. So are there any questions I can answer concerning this?
Jen?
I have a question, Mike. You said in the narrative it's going to have breakaway panels,
Yes.
and those are going to, what, collapse down or flip up?
There'll be breakaway panels. It's better if they swing up, in my opinion.
Swing up?
Yes.
How's that going to happen with a car in the garage? I'm just asking the question. I get the argument, Mike, I'm just asking the question. They won't be able to function if there's a car in the garage, correct?
Well, hopefully there's no car in the garage.
Then why build a garage?
Because we have a 1 in 100 year chance that there'll be a storm with that kind of significant wave effect. So obviously, people in the floodplain, especially in places like this, shouldn't stay there. They should evacuate. So if they evacuate, there wouldn't be any car there.
So we can make that a condition? No more questions, Mike.
I think I think that
Oh,
was a
yeah.
good answer. I think he was thinking quickly on his feet. I'm impressed.
You understand what I'm saying now, Mike?
I-
I mean,
I
you know, I
understand
mean,
it,
breakaway
yes,
panels,
but-
and I understand your argument, but I mean, this whole thing with breakaway panels work great in theory, but when you put them to a practical use and you have things in a garage, you know, but I get the argument based on our regulations that, you know, the points you made. I was just wondering how those panels were gonna work, that's all.
Well, that's all right. You asked the question.
Yep.
He thought quickly on his feet
Mhm.
with his answer.
In reality, the people in the velocity zone especially should not stay there.
Oh, I understand
They should
that.
evacuate. And for instance, where, I live in Pine Bay Estates. Once the storm comes, if it's a 100-year storm, you cannot leave because the 1954.
Just think of this, Mike, we're on
was
the
breached
same
the
island
boat.
together.
No, we're in separate.
Separate islands?
Separate
I don't
oceans.
think so. Tommy?
No questions at the moment.
Mike?
I personally believe it's an improvement, that we have, the house is more in danger than what we have, and the shed would go away, and so what we're doing is improving the situation, so I'm very comfortable with it.
I am also comfortable with it.
I'll give Mike a gold star for quick thinking on his feet. No other questions?
I have a couple of questions, Mike.
Yes.
One is, underneath the turf of the grass is what? Sand?
To be blunt, I would assume so, but normally in our soils it's stratified, meaning that there's a topsoil, then there's subsoil, and then there's sand.
Right, but we all know that area down there, and it's probably pretty thin topsoil and sand underneath. I'm just saying,
That would be an assumption, without test, without data. It's assumption.
well, you don't want me to ask you to have to go back and get data, do you?
No,
No?
obviously not, because I don't think it's been asked before of other people.
Well, I'm just saying, I suspect that there would be sand movement if there was a storm there. I'm not saying that this is a deal breaker. I'm just saying that I don't agree that there wouldn't be any interruption in the supply of sediment. I think sediment would be moving there.
I do not agree that this area would have the kind of erosion based on what I saw in Hurricane Bob. So, no matter what, it will be greater damage, but what I saw in Hurricane Bob was that the significant erosion was basically where there was a significant change in the shape.
I've seen a Category 4 hurricane, and then 6 years later, a Category 3 hurricane, and the kind of damage in the two storms were completely different. I mean, you know that. It depends on where the storm comes in and so forth. On to my next question. I understood you to say that the 200 square foot addition you can't do.
You cannot do it.
Okay, so my question is, I multiplied 23 by 14 and I got 322 square feet for the proposed garage. And how big is the shed?
100 square feet.
Is it 100?
Yeah, half.
I'm sorry, I colored over the dimension.
10 by 8 or something, maybe 80 square feet?
I don't have dimensions on it. Besides, the 200 square foot was, it's 8 by 12.
8 by 12, so 96.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so the addition would be a little bit over 200 square feet?
It's not an addition, it's a new structure.
The additional square
Additional square
square
footage
footage on
of
the lot.
structure on the lot would be 322 minus 96. Is that correct?
before I
Which
answer
is
that, I
what?
want to go back and look at the regulation.
Madam Chairman, are you just asking what the square foot difference
Yeah, I
is
just want the
between
square
the
foot
shed
addition.
and the...
Yeah,
and
I
the-
just want the difference.
Okay. I'm not quite sure Mike McGrath is going to find that answer in our regulations, but...
What you refer, yes.
I'm sorry, I lost track of the notes.
Okay, the answer, so you don't have to
No,
look
but I
at the
want to read
regulations.
what the regulation says.
Because what the regulation says is the cumulative size of additions to the structure since the effective date does not exceed 200 square feet. There's no addition to a structure. We're taking a small structure down and building a structure that conforms to the building code.
Okay, I understand, I have the facts, I just want to know the dimensions.
Yes, okay.
Which are?
We just said it was
Oh.
8 times 12.
8 times 12 minus 14 times. It's taken away from 14 times 23,
Yes.
which I get as, does everybody else get 322? Okay.
No.
Net increase of 226.
Yeah.
And that increase of 226.
However, the question is, how do we interpret the regulation?
Well, we just want to know the facts right now. Those were my questions and comments.
I will move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second. Any other questions? Tommy, do you have any?
When did this regulation in the building code change?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean,
When was the last
just-
revision of the building code, 08?
No,
No.
no, they,
200
Recent
foot?
one.
210,
International, no,
2010.
but I
Okay,
just-
okay,
They change
Is
it
this-
constantly.
okay.
Yeah, they do.
But what's the regulation? You
It's the
can't build
building
an
code.
addition anymore?
You cannot put an addition in a velocity zone that's lateral unless it's elevated to be,
Oh,
2 foot
in the
above.
velocity zone.
Right.
All right,
and so then,
To do that.
so we couldn't do it
Yeah.
from a practical point of view.
right, because it would be why, right. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, are there any questions from the audience? Okay, motion second on the table to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, I've been laughing about that.
57 LSD Realty Trust, 57 Lakeshore Drive, East Falmouth, for permission to construct and maintain a 10-foot by 18-foot timber deck, the removal of concrete steps and landing, maintenance of the existing timber and concrete stairway to the pond, installation of native tree and shrub mitigation plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll save any of my questions until after Mr. McGrath's presentation.
Mike?
My name is Mike McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. I work for Holmes & McGrath. We prepared the plans and filed the notice. This site is a single-family house that's on Lakeshore Drive, and it fronts on Jenkins Pond, which is a great pond. The lot is developed by a paved driveway, there's a concrete slab, then there's a single-family house, there's a retaining wall in the back, and then there's a flat area, and then there's a very steep slope that
Very
drops
steep-
down.
Very steep slope.
And
Stop.
it's a great house to live in if you like aerobic exercise. You don't need a stair climber. The proposed work is to build a wooden deck in this area and with a set of stairs. We also describe that they would like to maintain the concrete, there's timber steps at the top and then concrete stairs. Specifically, if you go down, there's a handrail that's loose. So, but the major work is that the work to build the 18 by 10-foot deck. In order to build the deck, we lie within a Falmouth wetlands regulation, buffer zone B. The wetland resource here is the top of the inland bank that is at the shores of Jenkins Pond. There's a 75-foot A zone, and then there's a 25-foot B zone. And as a result, we've taken the area of this addition, and we show mitigation plans in this particular dark-colored area. The proposed activity is 156 square feet, and we have we have double the amount of area, 306 square feet of mitigation planting shown on the plan. So I believe that this conforms with the performance standards of your regulation. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I hope if there are questions, you can answer them. Jen?
I don't have any questions.
Courtney?
No questions.
Tom?
I do. I just highlighted in your narrative, and the maintenance of existing timber and concrete stairway to the pond. Walking up and down that, it's a very steep, I think that's a very brief description of what could be the potential for a lot of activity on that bank.
That was my
When you
question,
say-
too.
When you're saying maintenance, re-drilling the handrail and, or welding it, and then addressing the roller that's in the pond. There's debris down at the base of this. There's a, you know, just bringing that debris up would be, you know, you gotta clear, the path is in need of repair, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be. But just to, I'm not very comfortable, and I don't often say that the maintenance of existing timber and concrete stairway to pond.
We'd like more detail.
Yes, I would. I'd need to see a methodology of, you know, are they gonna leave the concrete, they're gonna break out certain portions? And there is a chunk in the pond that's by the tree that's in the pond. There was a chunk of concrete down there. Like, somebody did a,
Down by the roller.
yeah, and, you know, somebody did an awful lot of work, and typically the one to the north has the same type of handrail going down. Somebody put a lot of effort into it many years ago to do this, but it is in disrepair, and I think that I just need to have a stronger comfort level for any activity on that bank.
So what you'd like us to describe is exactly what maintenance is.
Yes.
And for instance, if there's any excavation and we don't propose it, they have to come back for a permit if they're going to excavate.
Yes,
Yeah,
I need to,
definitely.
yes.
Courtney?
Yeah, I think if, following Tom's idea here, I think he's right on, and I think we need to have specific information about methodology, what the scope of work is, not just maintenance, you know, because he's right, you know, there's potentially an awful lot of work which could be disturbing to the buffer. So I think, you know, a methodology, a description of methodology, cross sections, that kind of thing would be appropriate. And you can maybe decide whether you want to delete that from this order and then come back as an amendment.
I
Or
think the
you
most
can-
important thing is to get the hammer fixed. I don't think we've done the stairs.
Yes.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm not saying that the repair shouldn't be there, I just need to have a little bit more
I understand.
description, that's all.
I think it's, what's there is functional, but except for the handrail looks like an accident waiting to happen.
Okay,
Like,
so,
The laying the deck out with planks so I could see where it would be built with a nice touch, but it presumes approval.
do you know
We
what?
staked it. When I was there was
Oh,
nothing.
the deck
There's
is,
a deck there.
the deck is essentially there.
I was there at 3. Sorry,
I have,
You were there at 3?
yeah. Between 3 and 4.
I was there at 2, and there's a deck in the back. Didn't you see it? Did you go around the back of the house?
Yeah, I walked right down.
Maybe we just-
I looked
we
at the
just-
stakes.
Was it
I don't think it
our
was
imagination?
nailed. No, it was just
There
laid.
are stakes there, but there's nothing between the stakes and the wall.
No, the deck was there. It was not nailed down, but it was there. And that was my comment, that it was nice to see it laid out. What I say. Nope,
Maybe they knew you were coming,
yeah, that's fine.
but they didn't know there was gonna be a parade
They
of
said
conservation
there were 4
commissioners
people
coming
there
first.
today. So,
What?
The tenant said there were 4 people there.
That was number 5. when I showed up.
We do our job, what can I tell you?
You're lucky every once in a while you meet him out there.
What? I'm sorry, what did you?
Yeah. Tommy,
No question.
do you feel that we can condition it, that we need to see a methodology? You need to know exactly.
I feel good with that, because it's not,
Yeah, I don't think it's,
with the caveat, if there's any excavation.
yeah,
they
if
have to
there's
come in
gonna be
for an
any
amendment.
excavation or any,
If it's only the chain, if
Relaying.
it's only the handrail.
it's
we'll
mainly the
spec-
handrail.
Then we'll specify
Yeah.
that he can maintain the handrail.
Yeah.
Anything further would require an amended order.
Right. And
At
if-
the
right.
top, you might want to put some material in between the wooden steps, the only thing I
Right,
saw.
that's maintenance, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Mike, just get me a methodology on maintenance
Yep.
in the next couple of days.
Yes.
Motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any further questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion and a second on the table to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Barbara, we're coming to you. Estate of Virginia Kukendall, care of Alexandra and Helene Thayer, 40 Drift Road, West Falmouth, for permission to upgrade the existing, I guess, exiting? Is it supposed to be exiting?
No.
Well, the cesspool is going to exit, isn't it? Exit from the system.
Existing.
Existing cesspool.
With a Title V compliant tight tank to replace vegetation if removed and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen,
No questions at this time, Madam Chairman.
good evening
Good
again.
evening. For the record, Barbara Frappier with Warwick and Associates, representing Alexandra and Helen A. Thayer for this property. I'd like to begin by saying that every once in a while, there is a confluence of people, ideas, and situations that just come together. And working on this project has made me absolutely joyous. I hope it'll do the same for you. And all I can think of, to borrow some words from Lewis Carroll, "O frabjous day, Callooh Calais, I chortle in my joy." This property is on Drift Road, almost to the end. There is a quintessential cottage built in 1956, nestled in the top of the dune. The entire property is, on this side of the road, is a barrier beach, coastal dune, coastal beach. It is part of Massachusetts Coastal Zone Management's barrier beach inventory. It's FM 31. The property is being sold, it has been sold. And to that end, we need to do an upgrade of the septic system. Right now, at the bottom, down here with the parking area, there's a cesspool. And what our proposal is for this property is to install a tight tank. There'll be no leaching field, no regular tank. And we're proposing the tank in the path that goes up to the house, the area that's already cleared. So that all be required is to lift up the boardwalk, excavate for the tight tank, install it, connect it to the house, fill it in, and we're good to go. The boardwalk goes back on top. It will be designed to meet all of the standards. It's a 3,000-gallon tank. The capacity of this tank with the ballast is 2,600 gallons, which exceeds the minimum 2,000-gallon tanks that Title V requires. It will have an alarm system with both a light and a sound alarm as part of it. The cesspool will be pumped and filled with clean sand. There'll be no dewatering necessary. There is high groundwater out here, but we've slid the tank halfway up the hill in the path so that there will be no digging into groundwater in order to install this. The reason we went with this with a tight tank on this site is because of the existing condition of this property. This is heavily vegetated, mostly with bayberry. Across the way, as you can see, across the way is the Sippawasset Marsh area and the creek, but the hillside is heavily vegetated with bayberry. It is an abundant habitat. And one of the things that a Berry Beach system points out when you've been reading about them is that the installation of septic systems can wreak havoc on a Berry Beach system. First, because of the removal of the vegetation. Second, because it would alter the shape of the slope. In order for a traditional system to go in, it would have to be mounded and contained. If it's not contained in some sort of concrete bunker, then it would have to, the sides would have to be sloped out, meaning even more removal of vegetation. Even though you can plant the vegetation back at some point, we already have a dense, mature forest here. And we would like to leave it intact and not do anything to harm what is there, either vegetatively or for stability and the way it functions. So that is what we're proposing.
Okay, thanks. Jen?
No questions.
Tommy?
No questions, looks like a good idea to me.
Mike?
I applaud the efforts to, minimize. It's not an easy decision.
No?
And I appreciate that the prospective buyers, that they are that sensitive. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Buyers are that sensitive, they were on board, and this, like I said, is the quintessential cottage, and that's the way they want to keep it. Tom?
It is the quintessential cottage. I climbed underneath. It's got locust pieces and all that, because I did see the black pipe, and I just wanted to follow that goes to the well. I
Yes.
saw that black pipe coming
The well is
off to the
over
corner.
here.
Yeah. Curiosity on the fence out front.
That fence has been there since forever. It was originally started out as a typical snow fence back in the 50s. And over the years, it has evolved into this. I think maybe back in the 70s, it took on the picket look. But it sort of functions as a snow fence will in helping to trap sands and along the way. It doesn't seem to interfere with anything, and it actually seems to be beneficial.
Okay, thank you.
Court?
I'm old and missing something. This is designed to be pumped, right?
This will be pumped, yes.
Okay, that's,
Yep.
you know, I'm going through, you're looking
It's
for
totally
this
self-contained.
thing, and I'm looking at your thing, and it seems like that's the only way you can do it, fine, and I think that's good. How often do you anticipate it being pumped?
Well, if the cottage is occupied by 3 teenage girls, maybe more often. If it's occupied by the people that are going to buy it, it could be once or twice a year, depending on water usage. There's no washing machine and dryer in there, there's no dishwasher, so water usage will be minimal.
And there's no room to add them.
And there's no room to add them, that's correct.
Okay. No other questions? I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
And, okay, no, we don't.
Jen?
No DEP number for this one either?
No DEP number for this,
Oh, well, we'll have to,
Continue.
Yeah.
oh,
for
I'll
that
move to
purpose only.
continue
We have the one
until-
for
That's what I said.
Sunset Point, that came through.
how big is it?
Madam Chair, I withdraw my motion, and I'll instead substitute it with a motion to continue until,
For 2 weeks?
Yes, Madam Chairman, this will be the only continuance until the 11th. Your agenda is quite full.
Yeah,
If it's
this is
for the
just for a
DEP
DEP number. You
all
don't
right, I
have to
no
come.
problem.
I don't
I
even
We
have
will,
to cover.
we will hear it and close it in your absence.
Thank you.
I'll move to continue the hearing until September 11th.
And I will second.
Okay, any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, there's a motion on the table to continue. You with us, Susan, till September 11th? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you very much.
320.
You're welcome to come back, though, to see us.
You can. If you, Barbara, you're,
I suppose I could.
yeah.
And have a good holiday weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you. 320 square feet. The house.
Oh, my. Yeah, that's not much space.
Bye, Barbara. Bye, Alan.
Divide the price.
Wow, yeah. Request for a continuance under a notice of intent. Peter Donovan, 7 Hamlin Road, Wacoit, for permission to construct a 4-bedroom, single-family house with an attached garage, deck with stairs, porch, stone wall with stairs, to install dry wells, utilities, a Title V sewage disposal system, driveway, lawn, native shrubs, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Madam Chairman, it's a continued request.
What?
Continued request for,
Oh, for a continuance.
yeah.
Continued requests.
She just put it under the wrong heading.
Not a big
And I
deal.
read it.
Oh,
so quick. When I was
continued
reviewing
request.
the agenda, I read it so quickly, I just read right over it.
I was gonna say, it looks to me like Mike's ready to go.
He is.
A continued request, this is continued request.
Mike needed to submit a revised plan,
Yep.
showing, what was that, Mike, the trees?
Yes.
Yep.
Trees, fence, and note to protect tree.
And that was done, that was passed in today, you all have a copy of it in front of you, and for the DEP number, which we have received.
I'd like to make a motion to close and take it under advisement. Second.
Anybody else want to say anything on the board? Anybody from the audience? Mike, do you want to say anything? Do you want to
Yes.
just say hello?
I have to justify being here and getting paid tonight, so, hello.
You have to tell us who you are then.
Mike Porcelli, Falmouth Engineering.
Hello. Okay, we have a motion, the second on the floor to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
You
Clyde?
didn't say anything wrong tonight, Mike.
Clyde
Yeah.
Gummow, 45 Sunset Point Road, North Falmouth, for permission to install a 25-foot native buffer strip, maintain a 4-foot path, install an above-ground irrigation system, submit monitoring for plant health, remove unpermitted gravel seaward and along the sides of the house, maintain a 4-foot gravel path and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this was continued for a DEP number only, which we have received.
Okay.
Make a motion to close and take it under advisement. Second.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Last chance to say something about this project. Okay. Motion and a second on the table to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
What happened to this one?
Uh-oh. This one? Oh, we don't have everybody?
If it, which one, for Sunset?
No, that's,
We don't have a quorum.
for,
For the Sunset one?
Yep.
Madam Chairman, it's just for the DEP number.
It's just for the DEP number.
You're not
We'll
taking,
vote with
yeah,
the
you're
quorum.
not taking any.
Fine with me.
Take any, yeah.
All right, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Thank you for pointing that out, Mike.
That's his job. He's good, isn't he?
yes, he is, gold star.
Okay. Me and Mike.
That's right.
Mike gotta go on today, I gotta go on. Huh?
So what, we're waiving the,
We're not taking any testimony, it's just to close it.
Yeah, it's just to
So
close
we'll vote
it.
with the people who heard the
Just to
project.
close it to get the DEP number, it's not a big deal.
Okay, request to amend the existing order of
Trust me,
conditions. Henry and Martha Lartigue, 167 Fay Road. Request to amend the existing order of conditions, DEP 253736, to install a private irrigation well and landscape irrigation system.
is there a quorum for
I'm gonna
this?
be
You don't
recusing
need a
myself.
quorum for this one, Courtney, because it's an amended one.
It hasn't been open?
It has not been opened.
Okay, I thought it had.
Nope. But
No, you did hear this prior, this is, and you issued an order on this project. They're coming back to amend the order to
Okay.
request the irrigation through that well.
okay, and actually, you did an excellent job, I thought, in your report, in your request. You answered questions that
Yes.
Courtney had, you answered questions that Mike had,
Great,
and I'm prepared to close it, but
okay.
we'll see what other people think.
Well, my name's Dan Soline. I am representing the Lartiques. The applicant, I have the green cards here.
over here.
And I'm happy to keep this as efficient as you would like, but happy to go through, essentially the submittal.
Yeah, you could go very quickly if you
Okay.
want, but,
All
I
right.
think you hit the, I thought that was an interesting discussion that night, and I think Mike hit some interesting points, and you provided
Right.
answers to those. And
Yeah.
Courtney, in particular, had a question, and you also provided that.
Right. Well, maybe just to touch on the high points. So we received an approved amendment on May 28th. The vast majority of what we requested was approved. There was a question about the well and the irrigation, particularly the well, the location of the well, its impact on freshwater wetlands in the area, and potential saltwater intrusion. So we did some research on each one of those issues, and we made a submittal to the to the commission with this new application for a further amendment. Maybe just to touch on those issues. Essentially, the location of the well will be here where this red dot is. Okay, it's on the landward side of the house. Just for your reference, this is the top of the coastal bank. This is the 100-foot setback. So it's essentially 109 feet, from the top of the coastal bank in this location. It's in your jurisdiction because of the floodplain, the flood zone 814, which encompasses the front yard, of the property. So it meets all setbacks that the Board of Health also has review over. It's with Jennifer's administrative approval, we hired Desmond well drillers. We have Tom Desmond here, tonight. If you have any questions about his work here and his interpretation of the results. So he installed a test well in this location. The well went down 35 feet. He found static water at 11 feet below the surface, below grade, which would be about elevation 2. He inserted a motor in the well and conducted a test at 15 gallons per minute and found that there was a drawdown of 3 feet. So a sample was taken of the water that was pumped out. That sample was sent to the Barnstable County Health Lab. They found that there's 45 parts per million sodium. Just to put that in context, I checked the town water supply records, and in Falmouth, the sodium levels range from 6.3 to 29. So the sodium level is not much higher than you'd find in town water. And to put it further context, the golf course superintendents who I talked to said that they're not concerned about sodium levels on golf courses until it reaches about 1,000 parts per million. So 45 is quite low, even though it's a little higher than town water. As far as the wetland impact goes, I use the town GIS system to identify the nearest wetland, which is here 500 feet to the northwest of the well location. I went out and inspected the area. Essentially, it's a kettle hole or depression in the land. There's no standing water. There are sort of wetland indicator shrubs, high bush, blueberry, clothra, others that are growing there, but no wet conditions in August. In any case, so I think it's likely that the area is wet in the spring, and perhaps partly due to its proximity to Surf Drive, where it may be one of the areas where water running off of Surf Drive, collects, in the spring. That it may even be by design, I'm not sure. But the base of that kettle hole is at elevation 6, so it's well above the groundwater level that we found. So it's not really supported by groundwater like you might find with a pond that was closer to, or wetland that was close to a pond or nearer to sea level, or something. I think this is a seasonal wet condition. But in any case, it's quite far from this well location, 500 feet. And according to Tom, groundwater flow is, flows towards the shore from the inland areas across. So I think that this is upstream essentially from where we're drawing water. So I think the impact would be zero. So I guess we have letters that we submitted from Tom reporting on the yield and the water quality. We have a letter from the irrigation contractor attesting to the feasibility of operating a system for this project off of this well, and I don't think we're seeing any indication that we'll have saltwater intrusion or impact on wetlands. So I guess with that, I'll conclude and answer any questions you might have. I know Tom is available to answer questions as well.
Okay, thanks. Jen, you have any questions? No. Tommy?
No questions.
Mike?
I think the report is, with your presentation, is very good. I think it addressed all the concerns that I had. The yield of 5 gallons per minute per foot is outstanding for these purposes. I'm comfortable with the project.
So, I'm understanding our position, assuming we approve this, is that we're okay with, as a board, with irrigation systems within jurisdiction if they have their own well.
Depending on their other conditions. One is that it's facing the Vineyard Sound. The second is there's a lot of buffer between, a lot of vegetated buffer that's going to have native plants between where the irrigation is going to be. We've been assured that this is going to be a Cadillac system.
Well, we're going to utilize every innovation.
That would not be pouring a lot of water, taking a lot of water out when we were getting all that water from the sky, but maybe this last month would have been watering things.
Right, as I described last time, we'll use drip irrigation, so we're not going to be throwing water in the air and having it evaporate before it hits the ground, or it's going to be put where the plants need it. We're going to be using sensors to regulate the use of the water per weather conditions and soil moisture. Okay. I think the fact that we're willing to utilize a private well is meaningful, and that the irrigation won't draw on the municipal water supply. I think to that degree, it meets a sustainability standard, that's notable. I don't see any impacts,
Okay, but just to answer Courtney's question, recognize that if we do permit it, and it's likely that this will be permitted in this location, that it's because of certain factors. It doesn't mean that every time a project comes before us, we would necessarily
And I realize this is an area for deliberation, but I'll make the comment that our standard conditions provide for 8 inches of loam and drought-tolerant fescues, with the idea that you may water the lawn for a year or so while it gets established, and then it doesn't need to be watered. And this doesn't, whatever you're proposing here doesn't alter that condition. And I have no comfort level with this at all. I understand what you've done, and I applaud your efforts, but I can't buy it. So I'm just telling you straight up, when it comes to a vote after deliberations, I'm going to vote against it.
Okay.
Now,
well,
I'm one member of the commission, but I'm just telling you, that's where I am.
That.
If the commission decides to approve it, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, but I'm just telling you, this is where I feel, and I'm trying to be consistent with where we are, and that's it.
I respect your position. But I would just like to say that it's we will certainly be placing the same thickness of loam that we would with or without irrigation. We'll be utilizing the same grass mixes, the fescue turf that we would,
So,
So the use of the irrigation for the lawns will be, no more than necessary, and recognizing that we're implementing, solutions that will minimize the need, okay?
And I'm assuming this is not just for the lawn. They're gonna have foundation plantings.
No, actually, the lawn is maybe the least of the concern. As I mentioned way back at the beginning of this process, our client is a perennial flower grower, and it's those bedding plants that are on this property, this project, the plants that demand irrigation, the most. And I've said this before. There's nothing in the. I mean, I could stand out there with a hose all day long under the current regulations, and put my tuna cans out by the sprinklers and go and run the sprinklers and go off to Stop and Shop, and let them run. This I think is a more reliable, system.
Right. Well, we know what your position is, and we know what Courtney's position is.
and we've stated
and we'll-
our respective
Also,
positions, and
as
life goes on.
But I do think that the guidance, and if you think back to it, the kinds of questions, I think it's important for these kinds of projects to go through the process of asking certain kind. I mean, I go through that process when you ask for beach nourishment. I mean, there's certain kinds of questions you ask because they're different sites. It's not like we have a homogeneous.
Well, I think your process is also, one of the productive sort of byproducts is that, it sort of pushes us to innovate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know if I've ever been involved in a project that utilizes a private well for irrigation, but given the concerns over sustainability, the water supply, then the very common need to I guess what's the word? Not draw on the town water supply. I think this is a good direction to go, and I think that the Jennifer in the past has stated the reasonable position that this project being on the Sound is a little, needs to be viewed a little differently than if we were on Oyster Pond or some other inland water body that's trapped and where you don't have the cycling, that you do here. So I appreciate your time, and
Okay, don't go away yet, though. We
No,
need
Dan, I
to
would-
close the hearing.
Yeah. Dan, I think this is a well-thought-out project. You've done your homework. And you've submitted some compelling arguments for your position, and in many ways, I think, in the big picture of things, you're right. My concerns are trying to be consistent, number one, even though you do have to look at different situations. The other bigger concern, which I mentioned much earlier I think perhaps when you really went into it, is again that the Cape Cod is a single source aquifer. And so when you say, well, I'm not drawing on town water, you're drawing on the same aquifer that the town draws. And I understand that, inland, somebody can put down 25 wells and, it's not part of our regulation. So there's an inconsistency there, and I understand that. So I'm making a general statement that we as people who live on the Cape should be very concerned about water usage, because as the population grows, the potential for taxing that aquifer to its limits, similar to what's happened in South Florida and so forth, and other areas where there's single source aquifers, is of great concern and should be of concern about of anyone involved in regulatory stuff or just as a citizen of the Cape. So
Well, I share-
I'm not gonna, that's it.
I share the concern.
Let's close the hearing.
I would say that
Why don't you put a motion?
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take
Go
it
back
under
and forth
advisement.
all night, gentlemen.
You're right.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Thank you for coming. Motion and second on the table to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Dan. Okay, vote orders of conditions. Do you get to go out for dinner now? Do you get to go out, are you gonna take, is that your wife? Did you take, oh, you took her for dinner before?
No, I found.
Oh, you ate at home? Oh, you're smart. Yeah, we know.
We're trying to get there.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you for coming, sir.
Stephen Kaufman, 71 Charles River Road, Wacoit.
Quorum?
Quorum. Quorum?
Oh,
Quorum,
Susan's
please?
just, yes, Susan's just working through a brief change in the agenda I made earlier today. Tommy, Mike, Betsy, Court, Tom. Tommy, Mike, Betsy, Tom, Court.
All of us.
Yeah, all of them. This is the pool project. The special conditions we discussed during the hearing were a pre-construction meeting and to locate the existing pool drywall or install another pool drywall.
Correct.
And you guys assure me that they can take that vegetation down and lift the pool machines up with the little crane and dump them in, down the thing?
Yeah.
You guys are good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Because I couldn't figure out how they were gonna get the machines down
And
there.
I want you to, them to tell you what they're gonna replant.
Yep,
I don't want them to replant invasives.
nope, and, yep.
And to protect that tree. There's a tree, there's a cedar tree that they don't plan doing anything with, but when you have a lot of big equipment around, they could whack it. That
Okay.
one, yeah.
Okay.
No tree whacking.
Correct.
No, it's
No
just
tree
in that
whacking, that's
area, I
our
don't know
condition.
how they're gonna
That's
get the
the-
crane in there, because it's such a tight little area.
It doesn't have to be big. The equipment that they'll put down there, I don't think.
Because that's what, a 4-foot,
6
roll,
foot, I
so
think.
it's like a 4 to
6-foot
5-foot wall at least, straight down. So they have to take that stuff out, get their, and then have the crane lift it up and then
If they had
drop
to
it
put a
into the
ramp
pool.
into that, it wouldn't be the end of the earth either.
Well, that was, I was thinking.
Yeah, if
They could
if-
do a little earth ramp and something, or just
Yeah,
even a
but a lot
ramp
of
ramp.
it's just gonna end up being demoed, brought over to there
Okay,
and thrown
all
out.
right.
Okay, so I'm going to move to approve this order as discussed, with, in particular, that there be a methodology worked out with the
Yep,
staff in advance of the delivery and installation of pool.
yeah, we're gonna have a pre-construction meeting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second on the table. Any further comments? Okay, all in favor of the order as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. James Lucio, lot 532 Acapasket Road, East Falmouth.
Yes, Madam Chairman, Getting yelled at.
I know you get it from both sides, too. Probably 3 sides, or maybe 4 or 5 or 6.
Mike, Betsy, Courtney, Tom, and Tommy.
All right?
This was Jack Linder's College project. Basically, all the concerns the staff had were addressed in his plan revisions.
Right.
He did go out and re-site the wetland line in that long linear portion of the property that goes north. Mark went out and picked up every one of those flags.
Yeah, and he was comfortable.
And Mark was comfortable with that delineation,
good.
whether or not the abutters representatives are. The
Well,
staff
that's-
is, that's not our
Yeah.
concern. The staff is comfortable with the delineation along the path. And as far as the location and siting in the house and the mitigation involved in that,
Right.
Yeah.
their representative addressed all the staff's concerns.
Yep. And there's some other issues on that
There
lot,
are
but they're
other
not our
issues on this
issues.
site that are not our issues, as far as whether or not the lot is a buildable lot under zoning, frontage, things like that, those are not our concerns.
Yep. And I hope, for their sake, that
They will work it
upstream
out.
of the, upstream, they have provided enough to get any rainwater.
Yep,
But that's,
yep.
you know. Okay,
I'll move to approve the order as discussed.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. John and Laura Francis, 195 Great Bay Street. This is the little roof between the house and the garage?
This
and
is the little
cover
roof
spot?
between the house and the garage. Same quorum. There's gonna be a slight increase, he said, in that impervious, but they've already added plantings for the other part of the project, so.
Yeah, and there will be grass under, I mean, it's not, it'll cover it, but it's not like it's covering so that
Correct.
no,
No, it's almost
Water
like a
can go
little
through it.
carport.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Okay.
okay?
Move to accept the order as discussed.
Second.
All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Carolyn Matskin, 1487 Sandwich Road, this was the ANRAD.
Yep, this was an ANRAD, basically it's an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. It's used for property owners and developers to determine and cite their wetland lines prior to planning any sort of development on the property. Mark and Mario went out and looked at each and every one of those flags. They're comfortable with the flags. The only issue the staff, or concern the staff has, is they did find basically a juvenile wood frog in the area of the third parcel, the isolated wetland in the middle of the, we've got the bordering vegetated wetland along Shumet Pond, and then there's an isolated wetland in the middle of one of the parcels. That isolated wetland has the potential to be a vernal pool. It's the wrong time of year for us to confirm that, because vernal pools are based on biological indicators, so we need to do that in the spring. So we will write the order confirming
allows
the
you-
bordering vegetated wetland flags in that line, the isolated wetland flags in that line, but I would ask that this board reserve the right to go back and revisit that area
Yep.
for,
Whether it's confirmation, whether it's.
confirm whether or not it's a vernal pool.
Yep,
That would be my motion.
Second.
question.
Oh, and we could not confirm the inland bank because there were no contours on the plan.
Okay.
Well, one question. One, the plan needs to be stamped by a surveyor, as I take it. It's not.
Which one?
The plan that I was given to.
The ANRAD plan?
Yeah, the NRAD was not
Okay, I'll have GIS set me a survey
stamped,
plan.
just to be consistent and fair to
Yeah, no,
everybody else who shows
absolutely.
up. when-
Yeah, that's,
So that,
yeah, we,
No, I'll have
That's
them send a
important.
sort of,
and
stamp
Tukin,
plan.
do we have a standard as to what's shown on these plans and what is not?
You mean as far as the wetland line? Basically, we're just confirming the wetland
Well-
line, nothing else. So as far as putting trees on the plan, something like that, well, they're not really proposing
I'm
any
just,
development.
I don't know what the plan is used for. I guess,
It's just,
Oh, this is-
it's just
Yeah, no, he
delineation of the
knows what
wetland.
that,
just to see where the
Mike-
wetlands are, to see where your envelope of building could potentially be, but you still have to have setbacks.
Usually, Mike, we just confirm the line, we don't ask them to put any trees on the plan or setbacks on the plan or
okay,
anything
we're being
like that.
consistent with what we
Yes,
normally do.
with what we've
And
done
I'm-
in the past.
and-
Yeah,
Right.
Well, I found the USGS wells, and they weren't shown. That upset me, so, I'm just being anal. It's okay.
no, I understand, we
All right,
basically.
But it
it's
does
only a
need to be stamped, just to be fair,
confirmation
and
Yeah.
other
for-
than
They
that,
wanna
I'm
know where
happy.
their wetland line is, if the wells are on the site and they wanna do something with them, they'll have to, and I've already talked to one of the potential property owners and gone through the fact that there's an inland bank on the site that we're not confirming, because we did not have the contours, that, at least the property I think they're looking at doesn't concern the vernal pool, but we went through the setbacks and everything, that
Okay.
there are setbacks, and, they can't just build right on top of the wetland line. There are certain setbacks that are not shown on this.
Very good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the purpose of it is just to delineate the wetlands for a starting point.
And they haven't, we can't even confirm all of them,
Right.
it's just wrong time of year.
Did we take a vote yet?
No.
Okay, we'll take, do we have a motion?
We have a motion and a
Okay,
second.
it's a motion and a second,
Yes.
and now we'll take the vote. All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to approve this as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before we adjourn, we did receive in our packets a
No.
packet of
We'll
correspondence
talk about that
concerning...
next week.
Yeah, no, according, I can talk to you about that.
We'll talk about that
Okay.
next.
Yeah, I just want to
Yep, I know.
update in the status.
We will discuss that, but there's some further meetings that have to take place before we discuss that.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to adjourn until our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks? Say aye.
Aye.
All
Maybe we should
opposed?
say twice, because for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. All approve? Again?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, that was adjourned for 2 weeks.